Hello and welcome back to our channel, How We Move the Decimal. In today's video is a continuation of me going through the box of playing cards and going through and listing them, counting them out, matching them, making sure all of the card decks have cards in them. I've already come across, by the time you're watching this video, from my previous video, I've come across 2 decks now that are missing cards. Honestly, with all of the decks I had, which I want to say was close to 70 when it was all done, I only had 4 missing cards. So I think that's a pretty good odds. These people obviously didn't have children because I don't think a deck of cards lasts longer than a month in my house. We always go to the Dollar Tree and get a $25 deck or $120 or $1.25 deck of cards because my kids, we're going to lose one. Usually when we go on vacation, we're like, these are the vacation cards because we know that they're not coming back. They've lost all privileges and have any cute, fun decks of cards. We have no novelty cards. They get the basic cards that you get at the Dollar Tree. Most of them aren't even slick to the touch. They're basic cardboard. So maybe when they're older, we can have nice things, but right now we cannot. This deck that I'm doing right now, there were 2 decks of this, and I can't remember the name. They're a famous name. They're worth decent. I want to say one of these decks is damaged. It's 1 card and it is damaged. And I do end up still selling it and listing it because there are 2 decks there. And it is 1 card. Granted, if you're going to play poker or something, that's obviously not going to work because you'll be able to tell what the card is. And I want to say it's a 4 of something and it has a nick in the side. So I do list that. Kent. These are Kent cards. Sorry, it just came to mind. They are worth a lot. There was some like schmutz on the Joker and it wiped right off with a wet cloth, so that was really, really nice. I didn't have to try too hard to get it off. It was a fingerprint of some sort. It almost looked like newspaper ink or something. That had rubbed off on the card. It came right off. Also, I guess, pro tip, even though this is the first time I'm listing playing cards, pro tip of getting stains off of surfaces. Now, these are more plasticky. These are not like paper cards. You could get these cards wet and it'd be okay. I probably wouldn't run them through my dishwasher or anything, but a lot of times if there's marks on something, especially if it's on like a white part or a non-colored part, you can take rubbing alcohol and a lot of times it'll get that off, especially if it's like an ink-based dye, which I think that's what this was, but water took it off. So if it's like an ink pen or like a newspaper smudge or something, that would take it off right away. That's what I use. If there's like Sharpie or permanent marker on the bottoms of shoes, I'll also use rubbing alcohol to take that off, and that usually works. If that doesn't work, acetone does work, but acetone can be more damaging. I'm showing you that there is an ink mark on this Joker. On this Joker also, I'm going to have to go clean it with some rubbing alcohol. I don't remember if I leave the camera on while I run over and do that. I just take a Q-tip and some rubbing alcohol and it takes the ink pen right off. This is actually written on, so yeah, I just walk away. Sorry, walk away while I do that. But it does work quite well. Magic eraser also works, but alcohol and a Q-tip, more precise. I say, see, look, I got it all off. The magic eraser works great on walls with ink pen, but it can take some paint off, so be aware of that. What is interesting is those little boxes I just pulled out, I thought were cards because they were in the card box. They're actually tiny little boxes of matches. And the little matches are about 1 inch long. They're freaking adorable, but I don't know why you would put something that was flammable in a box with things that are flammable. This is also all the bicycle decks. I found more decks in one of the cookie jar things because we all store everything in cookie jars. You think you're getting cookies, but you're not. So Chem, another deck. I don't know if it was this one that was damaged or if it was the other one. Either way, I listed both of them because there is more than 1 deck in that set. And 1 deck was perfectly fine. The other one did have a card with a notch out of it. This is like a harder plastic cards. So they don't tear. They like break off. I'm trying to describe like the feel of them, like almost like a blinds in your like window blinds is probably the texture of it. So if you ever snapped a window blind or had your child or cat snap a window blind, that's kind of what it was like. So there was an issue with that. Again, I listed it, but I fully disclosed the damage, which you always should do. Just disclose damage, especially if it's still worth being listed. This is, for me, still worth being listed even with the damage. So I did disclose it. Again, there was another non-damaged deck in that set. But if it was just an off-brand, if it wasn't vintage, I might not have bothered listing it. I might have just let my kids play with it. Side note, if you have a bunch of card decks missing cards, you can play math games with your children for help them with their math facts. And that's what we do a lot with, or with my kindergartner, well, preschooler, before she goes into kindergarten, helping her with counting and stuff. We will use unmatched cards, which is fine. I don't need a full deck to teach you what 8 plus 10 is. And that gives them a little tactile learning, which can be helpful. So that's what I like to do. I'm not even photographing these yet. I'm just going through and counting them and making sure they're there. I hate starting to photograph and then finding out that they're missing decks, especially if I'm doing a lot. And I do a lot of lots when it comes to the opened decks of playing cards, just because it's not worth my time, it's not worth the buyer's time to get one open deck of playing cards. So I did lot them all together. Then this is me going through and looking at the bicycle decks, seeing what I can lot together. Bicycle poker cards, bicycle pinochle cards, bicycle bridge cards. There's so many cards in this. Again, I'm going through and making sure, counting all the cards, sorting out the decks. This was kind of soothing to do. It was very, very time consuming, but needed to be done because I'm not going to list something that's missing everything. And I will say all the decks I listed had the jokers in them. I did not list anything that was not complete. I preferred if they also had the cards that went with the decks that tell you like what cards are in them and how to play certain games, but most of them did not have those. But they did keep all the jokers, which makes me think that these were card players. Most of us don't use jokers in everyday life, so the fact that they did keep all the jokers kind of tells you what kind of card players they were. It was very interesting. And again, I got these fairly cheap. They were not really bid on. I think there was only 2 bids, and one was mine for $1, and then it was someone else's for $3, and then mine for $5. So not terrible expensive, but I will say there were other higher priced items in this auction that were getting a lot of focus. This auction had a lot of jewelry in it, and I didn't even look at the jewelry. I didn't bid on the jewelry. I didn't do anything with the jewelry. The jewelry was going very, very high, too high for what I think it should have went for. A lot of it was costume jewelry. Some of the real pieces were in pretty nasty shape, but it was still going fairly, like $120 for a 14 karat gold chain. And I don't know what the price of gold is. I don't know what the price of silver is, but I think that there was some emotions getting involved in the bidding. So I was watching it at the end, and it like going up to $125, $200. Lots of costume jewelry were going above $50. This is things I wouldn't spend $10 on. I don't know if I just don't have the eye, or if people got really emotional and started bidding on these. But there was lots of jewelry and lots of coins, and foreign coins and collectible coins. So I don't know if the people that were bidding on this auction were just focused elsewhere. So I was getting a lot of the other lots quite cheap. Like I said, I got this lots of cards for $5. I got a thing of greeting cards for like $7, and I donated a bunch of those to my mother-in-law's church because they like to use the greeting cards, and it doesn't matter if they have envelopes or not, but I wasn't going to sell them without envelopes, so I did pick and choose things. And I kept a pack of Christmas cards for myself. I just found a missing card in another deck for that deck, and I was able to complete that deck with finding that missing card. So that is another plus for going through and doing this, especially if the backs are semi-similar. These are large print cards, so I was able to tell pretty quickly that that card didn't belong there. But I was going through and searching the backs too after this just to make sure that that card didn't get put in with another deck of cards. But thank you for watching these videos. Please like and subscribe, and please continue to watch. I have one more in my listing card series, and then I think I'll put up greeting cards. I'm not sure, but thank you for listening.